Now, you are responsible for the budget. You are responsible for the resources. You are responsible for the timeline. But you are not accountable. So let's try to understand the difference between responsibility and accountability before I go any further with managing the project scope. Because when you are managing the project scope, you need to understand that you are responsible for the scope, but you are not accountable for the project. So, from your experience, Manuel, what is the difference between responsibility and accountability? What can you recall from previous experiences, Manu?
Wow, big question.
Big one, I know.
Okay, responsibility. So you can be responsible of a project, right? Or for a operation, right?
So true.
So we have.
But what is the? I mean, what is higher in terms of level of influence and power? What is higher, accountability or responsibility?
Probably responsibility.
All right. Actually, it's the opposite then.
Oh, really? Oh.
But again, that's why we're here. Yeah. In
Yeah.
project management, some people is accountable and some people is responsible. And that's why we need to understand the difference of these two properly today. The project manager is not accountable, is responsible. Now, what is accountability? Is when you need to pay the consequences. Right word. You need to pay the consequences of something not going well. You pay with money or with jail. That's how it is. That's why to be a company director is not an easy job. Because if something goes wrong, who goes to jail? The managers or the directors? What do you think?
Director.
The directors. So directors are accountable and the managers are responsible. The legislation, the framework in which projects operate are very, very clear about this division. And the project manager needs to understand that this division exists. Some people in project management are accountable and some people is responsible. So the project manager is responsible for the project. Who is accountable for the project then?
Management.
What level of management?
What?
I guess if, for example, if we're talking about a big enterprise or a big company, the people who are accountable for the actions of managers would be the directors, I'd assume. For example, let's say that I have a company with my name on it.
Yep.
And so let's call it, I don't know, computers, like Andres Computers or something, whatever. And I have an employee. Whatever the employee does, whatever he does wrong, I guess people are going to say, hey, it was Andres who told his employer to do that. So they would help me accountable for the actions of my manager or my employee in this case, which I would call a stakeholder in this case.
Spot on. Spot on. Spot on. The accountable person is that person that will be in serious problems if something goes wrong. Who are accountable or who is accountable? Company directors, members of the board, and the owner of the company.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Responsible managers. Managers are responsible. I want to tell you something else. In the business structure, managers are in the middle of the pyramid. Yeah, so if you have a traditional company, what you have here is staff. Is not a very nice word, but it's just to refer to coordinators, officers, administrators, operators, yeah, staff. Here in the middle, you have managers. And here at the top, you have directors. In Australia, for example, we don't use the CEO term, Chief Executive Officer. We use something that is called the MD. So what is the MD? The Managing Director. Is the director of the directors, kind of thing. The MD, the Managing Director. Now remember, the Managing Director is making, I don't know, probably in Australia, $400,000, $500,000 per year. In a medium-sized, large kind of company in Australia. And if we're talking about one of the large companies in Australia, Telstra, the National Australian Bank, we are talking about annual salaries, listen up, of $2 million, $3 million per year. And people, why they are making all that money? Well, because they are accountable.
Right. Mhm.
And if they make the wrong decision, because remember, these people is giving direction. That's why they are called directors. Because they are not working. Like a lot of people goes, but why they are not working much? Because they are not workers. They are not workers. They are directors. It's a different role, a very important one. Because we depend on them. We depend on them to make those decisions. And if they make the wrong one, they will be accountable for that decision. And the future of that person could be really, really gray. Gray, you know, like pale, if the decision is not the right one. Managers, in the other hand, they have to work a lot. I don't know if you have noticed, but managers, they start working 7 a.m., 8 a.m. sometimes, and they finish 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Have you noticed that? Because managers, they need to do a lot of work. They need to manage resources. And it's time consuming. You are dealing with people, you know, and people have different goals and different dreams and different motivations. One of the team members, they want to be in the company for 20 years. The other team member just wants to be for 6 months and then wants to go to a beautiful place in Asia Pacific. And another team member wants to get married and have kids. Another team member wants to be single for the rest of her life. One team member is wanting more payment, more money. And the other team member is not interested in money, but is very interested in recognition. So the manager needs to deal with all of it. And it's time consuming, but it's not, they are not accountable. So that's why managers, they make $120,000, $130,000, $140,000 per year in this country, which is really good payment as well. But they are not accountable. In Australia, a project manager makes around $130,000 per year, which is a good payment, isn't it? But they are not accountable, they are responsible.